We have already discussed the substitution method for assessing quantified sentences in lecture 10. In this lecture now, we are going to learn how you can use the substitution method for assessing sentences that use more than one quantifier. So let's start with a little bit of review. Here's how the substitution method goes when it comes to assessing existentially quantified sentences. Suppose you want to assess the sentence, there is an x such that ax, where the formula A binds one or more occurrences of the variable x. In the first step, you need to identify the relevant embedded open formula. In this case, that's A. In the second step, you need to give each object in your domain of quantification a name, if they do not already have a name, according to the interpretation that you are using. You then need to form all possible sentences that result from replacing the unbound variable in the formula A by one of the names you assigned in step 2. Next, you need to assess the truth of the sentences you formed in step 3. And finally, the existentially quantified sentence, there is an x such that ax is true if at least one of the sentences you formed in step 3 are true. Now, assessing universally quantified sentences is very similar. We go through the same first 4 steps, but then in the final step, we need to consider the truth conditions of universally quantified sentences. And the universally quantified sentence, all x are A, is true if and only if all of the sentences you formed in step 3 are true. So instead of just finding one true sentence, you need to check whether all the sentences that you formed in step 3 are in fact true. Now, when it comes to assessing sentences that use multiple quantifiers, you need to heed certain substitution rules that play a role in step 3. So step 3 says the following: form all possible sentences that result from replacing the unbound variable in the open formula ax by one of the names you assigned in step 2. Now here are the substitution rules that you need to obey. First, if a quantifier binds multiple occurrences of the same variable, then each occurrence of that variable must be replaced by the same name. But variables that are bound by different quantifiers can be replaced by either the same or by different names. So let's see how that goes. So let's look at an example for how the substitution method works when we assess the truth of sentences that use multiple quantifiers. Here's an example. For all x and for all y, Lxy. I'm assuming that L represents the English predicate x is larger than y. And I'm going to use the 5-step substitution method for assessing the universally quantified sentence for all x and for all y, x is larger than y. Now, in the first step, we need to identify the relevant open formula. In this case, that is the formula for all y, Lxy. In the second step, we need to assign names to the objects in our domain. Now you can see that some of these objects already have a name. A, B, C, D, and E already have a name. And I'll just go ahead and assign names to the remaining objects, F, G, and H. In the third step, we then form sentences that result from replacing the variable x in our open formula by means of these names. So that gives us the sentences for all y, Lay, for all y, Lby, for all y, Lcy, and so on and so forth. And now in the fourth step, we need to assess the truth of these sentences that we formed in step 3. Now, the complicating factor here is that these sentences, again, are quantified sentences. And so we need to go through our step-by-step procedure again for assessing the truth of these sentences. And I will just focus on the first sentence and assess the sentence for all y, LAY. Now, to assess the truth of this sentence, we first need to identify the relevant open formula. That is the open formula LAY. And then we need to form sentences that result from replacing the variable y by means of the names that we assign in step 2. And that gives us a list of sentences LAA, LAB, and so on and so forth. And now we can see that LAA is indeed a false sentence. So LAA, according to our symbolization key, says that A is larger than A. But that's not true. A is just as large as A. And so since LA is false, that also means that the universally quantified sentence for all y, LAY is false. And we can now assess our sentence that we want to assess in this example as follows. For all y, LAY is false since LAA is false. And therefore, for all x and for all y, LXY is also false.